2016, September 17th, at about 9:30 a.m., Ocean Avenue, Seaside Park, one pipe bomb out of 3 exploded. They were apparently timed to set off during the Seaside Semper 5K run event. 8:31 and 40 seconds p.m. at 133 West 23rd Street between 5th and 7th Avenue near a construction site, sidewalk dumpster or construction dumpster, or a construction toolbox, a pressure cooker shrapnel bomb detonated via cell phone connected to incandescent Christmas tree light bulbs igniters in a hexamethylene triperoxide diamine first stage explosive, setting off either something akin to tannerite. It's a tannerite-like explosive. I'm going to get to that in a minute, but anyway, here we go. At 11 p.m., 4 blocks away, at 153 West 27th Street, near a mailbox and just on the other side of a steel plate, was a second pressure cooker bomb that was wrapped in a plastic bag and was found and removed by the police and FBI and such using a robot. It had a note referring to the Boston Marathon bombings, the 2009 Fort Hood shooting, and to a Muslim cleric and senior Al-Qaeda member named Anwar al-Awlaki, killed by drone strikes. On the 18th, at about 8 p.m., the Elizabeth train station near New Jersey, 500 feet from the trestle and 300 feet from a pub front entrance, 2 homeless men called the cops at that time. And at 8:45 p.m., they handed over a backpack, pipe, and wire bombs that they'd found. It was similar in appearance to the Seaside Park devices, but lacked detonators. Remember, the above detonators are probably the same back and forth. Those were homemade detonators used basically heating element filaments, or actually light bulb filaments. 2 FBI robots examined the devices, and 1 exploded at about 12:40 a.m. on the 19th. At 8:45 p.m. on that same day, on the 18th, however, at a FBI and NYPD traffic stop on the Belt Parkway near Verrazano Narrows Bridge, 5 relatives of the suspected and accused bomber had been detained in connection with the investigation. Now, on the 19th, sometime, the FBI traced cell phone pictures and jihadist postings within it. They were still recorded because someone was stupid and didn't erase it, to various websites, and fingerprints, pictures, fingerprints, and postings off of the 27th Street bomb that didn't go off, led to an Afghan-American named Ahmad Khan Rahami, who had a notebook that had bloodstains on it and bullet holes in it, with writings about Anwar al-Awlaki and the Boston Marathon bombers, and of killing kuffars, otherwise known as unbelievers in Islam. 10:45 a.m., yes, these timings are all over the place, officers Angel Padilla and Peter Hammer and Mark Kahana awoke Rahami, or Ram, who was sleeping in the doorway of a Linden, New Jersey bar. He started shooting, so they shot back. There was a lot of shooting back and forth. A couple of the officers went to the hospital, so did our ne'er-do-well bomber. Investigators later discovered surveillance video that showed a suspect, quote-unquote, planting the West 23rd Street bomb, walking to the 27th Street, dragging a duffel bag, and leaving it there. Later, 2 scavengers took the duffel bag, and while removing the apparently useless pressure cooker, they ended up breaking the bomb when they took the pressure cooker out of the bag, because all they wanted was the bag. All hail the homeless people. Y'all owe them a beer or coffee or something, and the police would love to identify these people. Anyway, Rahami's high school girlfriend sought full custody of their daughter after finding out all about this, and his wife had left the country a few days before the attacks. I would like to presume because he's a evildoer and shouldn't have a wife, but she may have left because she might have been part of it. We'll never know, or we may know. We'll find out later. Next, the dumpster that got blown up was labeled BIC 1323, and it was a New Jersey Century Waste Services dumpster. And it took a huge amount of the shockwave out of everything because it basically stopped it. See also Adolf Hitler not dying because a bomb was placed behind a wooden table leg or support. Next. The force produced in a confined explosion is focused on a much smaller area, but the pressure is massively intensified, the overpressure, which actually causes damage to human beings and maybe structures. Explosive velocity is also higher than it would be in open air, but not necessarily as much as you might think. Smaller particle size also increases explosive velocity, so powdered materials would be better than solid materials, potentially. It really depends on how the explosive works, what chemicals are involved, and there are always chemical explosives at this point. Detonation velocities I'm going to list now. I'm going to list them in the generalized term I prefer to use, times the speed of sound. Now, the suspicion here is these are referred to as being based on tannerite-like explosives, which can go at Mach 22. So can TNT and so can C4, but there are some differences. TNT and tannerite run at about 4 miles per second velocity. C4 goes at about 5. Ammonol, which is also related to tannerite and could be confused, only goes at 3 miles per second, or Mach 14. But these are all very much rounded off numbers. The actual speed is 14,000 feet per second for ammonol, 22,000 feet per second for TNT, 22 or 23,000 almost for tannerite, and 26,000 feet per second for C4. Compare this to a fairly mild explosion at 1,680 meters per second from pentane air mixture, basically mixing lighter gas from a big lighter with air in a sufficient volume. It would do that. And then the 0.34 meters per second movement, slow movement, for flame combustion in air versus what can be done if you use a fuel air bomb by bursting the fuel into the air in a huge mix and then lighting it, which creates shockwave that's comparable. Anyway, that's your basics on all of this. These were improvised explosives and extreme, and the fallout from this, pun intended, is you have people up in arms, pun intended, talking about how tannerite couldn't possibly be used, and also other people wondering how this was done in a world where we're supposed to have control over these things when tannerite's perfectly legal, and all the other ones. You can literally look up the Wikipedia pages below to see this. I want to point out one of the explosions involved a dumpster. One of the links below to Google Street View points to an area with dumpsters on one side of the road, and on the other side of the road is where that dumpster landed, in a picture with 2 police officers behind it. The second location, you'll be looking at a mailbox. There are several mailboxes, but there's only one mailbox where there's a metal plate here, then the mailbox here, and then behind it a cement post where or a mound or a pillar where a lighting post or whatever is attached. That's most likely the location where it was at, so I've tracked it down at plus or minus 3 feet like I like to do. The next thing I'm going to look up, if I can find it, is I'll include below the Seaside Park location once I find out some location as to where it happened. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with all that, and I'm going to repeat what I should have said in the beginning. It's 3 days later. This is incomplete. This is an incomplete timeline. It took me over 3 hours to compile it at first, and who knows how much after that to correct errors, and it will be wrong. And I will correct it later in a video that if anybody wants it. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with it.